I mean, hey, look, I guess if you can turn Aquaman into a billion-dollar property and launch one of the most successful horror franchises of all time, then yeah, it kind of makes sense for a studio to just let you do whatever the you want.
I'm having visions.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, James Wan has served us up another slice of horror for him to try and terrorize his audience yet again, and this time it is in the form of Malignant. Malignant stars Annabelle Wallis as a young woman who begins to experience visions of grisly murders which may have a connection to her supposed childhood imaginary friend. That is all I'm giving you in terms of plot details, because the marketing and advertisement for this film has purposefully kept a lot of things hidden, and I wouldn't feel like it's fair for me to divulge any further. Now, James Wan is a kingpin when it comes to modern day horror. He launched two of the biggest franchises with Saw and The Conjuring, explored demons even further with the Insidious movies, and has since gone on to make $2 billion blockbusters with Furious 7 and Aquaman. But now Wan is going back to his horror roots, and similar to how they treated James Gunn when they just kind of let him do his own thing with the Suicide Squad, you can absolutely tell that James Wan has been let off the leash here. Malignant is a nasty, violent, and wholly original horror movie that I genuinely don't know if the general audiences that go to see this, I don't know if they're gonna vibe with it. One has plastered the film with throwbacks to the video nasty era, the B-movie American slashers, as well as definitely paying a lot of respect to the works of Dario Argento and the giallo horror films typically found within Italian cinema. It requires quite a strong stomach in a fair few places, but also helps to kind of reshape horror back to what it should be, because there are basically like no jump scares in this film. Whilst I wouldn't class Malignant as scary per se, when it comes to Wan's direction, especially the work that he does with cinematographer Michael Burgess, and the way he uses the camera to evoke as much horror out of the situation as possible, to use it as a conduit to exploit as much terror that you can inflict upon your audience as you possibly can, that is how you craft horror. To use everything at your disposal to terrify your audience and not just startle them with a loud noise. No one directs horror in the same way that James Wan does, and it is such a refreshing approach. Now, not all of it works. As I mentioned, it definitely owes a lot to that video nasty B-movie slasher type film, and unfortunately that does come across in its dialogue and some of the supporting performances. There are lines of dialogue here that are sloppy, and they aren't helped when the delivery of these lines is pretty sloppy also. Like, I totally get the tone that Wan and screenwriter Akela Cooper were going for. I know what it's trying to do, it's just that it really didn't land as smoothly as I was hoping for. Malignant also likes to spin itself around in what I call narrative roundabouts. What I mean by that is that it spends a lot of time going through repetitive motions to set the stage and get the audience on board. I was on board very quickly, so when we are going over the same things time and time again, it did start to wane a little. That being said, I totally understand the intention, because as we get to the final act of this film, for it to succeed, you need your audience on board. And it's a hard graft to complete. Because, well, let's talk about this final act. Holy f*** does it pay off. Think of the opening 80 minutes of Malignant like a continual health and safety warning. This is basically just brace yourself, because when shit hits the fan, oh boy does it hit the fan. I love how ballsy Wan is putting this together. It's unlike any kind of route I've seen a horror movie take, or at least a modern day horror movie take. It goes in totally unexpected directions that at points genuinely made my jaw drop. It caused an entire reaction throughout my screening. Some were totally on board with it, like myself, whilst others, they just weren't for them. You'll hear this word thrown around a lot when talking about this film, but it's bonkers. Malignant isn't going to be for everyone, or anyone going in expecting a run-of-the-mill horror. It's twisted, ugly, disturbing, insane, and totally unhinged in the finale. But one orchestrates it all like the true professional he is. It's more than a little rough around the edges, but for you gore hounds and horror nuts out there, I'm sure that you'll devour every single second of this. I'm going to give Malignant an 8 out of 10. Anyway guys, those are my thoughts on Malignant. Let me know, have you had a chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, tiptoe around spoilers per se, but what would you say is the most f***ed up movie ending? There are plenty out there, so let's see your picks. But as always, thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.